I wanted to play all the important Atlas games, so I'm starting with SMT1. SMT1 was released in 1992 on the Super Famicom by the Persona Company, and it was a Japanese exclusive for 22 years before getting published by Namco. And I kinda see why. 1992 America would not have really been too kind to this game. And even when you go on some GameFAQs post, you'll see people asking if Christians should even be allowed to play this game because it seems inherently demonic. And it is, but not necessarily in the way that most people thought it was. And at least from what I can see, the game sold very well and was well received by the public once it was brought overseas. But I want to see if this praise still holds up today. So here is my review of Shin Megami Tensei 1. I don't really know if I could praise this game's story enough. This is probably one of my favorite stories that I have played in the SMT series. The game starts off in this like really cool dream sequence where you come across just this head that just starts saying things to you, talking about how you're the chosen one and like how you have the potential to be the best. Then a cross comes flying towards you and it's spinning around and there's just a man crucified on it. Someone standing next to him is telling you this person is like chosen by God. What do you name him? And then he joins your party, and then you go somewhere else, you see another man getting beaten in by a demon, and then you name him, and then he joins your party too. And then you just come across this bath segment where there's just this naked woman in taking a bath saying how you're gonna be her soulmate and you guys are chosen to be together. And then you just wake up. That like, I don't know why, just like the art aesthetic of that whole sequence was just really, really cool. I cannot state it enough. And if you have played the game, you know exactly what I mean. And if you haven't played the game, I'm sorry I just spoiled it. Boo-hoo, you clicked on the video. The art design of this game is really cool. I love how all the demons look. I love the fusion room. It's just all really cool. Except for something that I'll touch on later, but as of now, I love this game's art design. But these two characters that you ended up getting are the Law Hero and the Chaos Hero. And something that I found really, really annoying about this game is that the story would directly impact the gameplay, which normally isn't that big of an issue, but in this game, there's multiple points where these two heroes will just leave your party, which is just the worst, one of the worst parts about this game. Because as something as I'll touch on later, humans in SMT1 are just absolutely broken in comparison to demons. So you'll just lose like some of your best party members and then they just won't come back. And another part of the game, the Chaos Hero decides that he needs to get more power. So he decides to go fuse with the demon, which I loved that sequence. I love the concept of it. I think it's really cool to have explored that in this style of game, but the demon that he fuses with, he just randomly selects from your party. So while demons aren't the best, you still want them, and then he just takes one for you at random. And stuff like this just sort of happens throughout the entire game, up until the point where the Chaos and Law Hero just permanently leave the party. And while I understand the reasonings are cool, it's just, it never stops being annoying. But even though I am like complaining about this stuff, the story and the reasons behind it are incredible. And it's probably the only real reason I kept coming back to the game. And so I picked a neutral ending because it had the most content, but like every single ending was viable. They all had really good reasons behind them, and they also had really good reasons to counter them. And I never felt like one side was inherently evil, and I never felt like one side was better than the others. I don't really like how some future games in the series kind of make you pick one of the endings because it's objectively better than the others. And I sort of liked how all of them were equal. This game took me around 40 to 50 hours to beat, and that is just simply far too long. I would say the thing that I really struggled with in this game was the length. And it's not that I don't like playing these long games, like I've played plenty of long games, it's just the way that they extend the time is kind of just through a lot of padding. Like near the end of the game, you go to a place called Tokyo Disneyland. It's a pretty big place, and if you walk just straight through it and like don't really stop to explore, it'll probably take you about an hour or two to walk all the way to the end. And then you just go to the end just to talk to someone, and then they tell you to go back to a previous dungeon in Shinagawa to talk to someone else. Then when you beat them or talk to them, you have to come all the way back to Tokyo Disneyland to talk to somebody again, and it's just not something that I want to do. You die a lot during this game, and whenever you die, you get sent back to the beginning or wherever you last saved. And this happens all the time in the game, but it's mainly the gameplay that kind of holds these parts of the stories back. First, let me start off this section by saying that I love turn-based RPGs. I've been playing them all my life, and I have played so many different types and styles of these. I cannot express how much I hate this game's combat. This game's combat can just be summed up to whoever can inflict a status effect first wins. Stun, awful. Freeze, awful. Sleep, awful. Charm, miserable. Bind, curse, stone. I cannot describe how much I hate this. In this game, there are no close fights. You are either absolutely destroying the enemy, or you are getting stun locked and destroyed. And if you think just because that you were stunned in combat but managed to beat an enemy, you think that those status effects go away? No. Another awful part about this game is that no matter what status effect you get hit with other than freeze or stun, you keep them out of combat. I hate this in all old games. This is not just SMT1, but I hate this concept. Mainly because if you get hit with any of these status effects, you cannot use spells outside of combat. So if your healer gets hit, fuck you. Hope you didn't want to heal or get rid of the other status effects you get hit with. If you get hit, fuck you. Hope you didn't want to talk to demons, run from them, attack to stay alive, or keep the past 4 hours of progress you just made. And this wouldn't even be necessarily a big issue if humans weren't by far the strongest party members that you can have. Demons are kind of good, but they're more of like chip damage and support more than actually viable for attack. And earlier how I was praising the art design of this game, this praise does not extend to the dungeons. All of the dungeons look exactly the same other than the color, making each trip to a new area feel the exact same as the previous one other than a minor color change, and it gets monotonous. And as much as I love the demon design, I have never played a game with an encounter rate this fucking high. All this encounter rate wants to do is see you fail. In the section that I was talking about earlier, Tokyo Disneyland, you would be lucky to go 3 steps without getting an encounter with an enemy. And it's made even worse because the enemies aren't even that bad, but when you're fighting hundreds of them, the slight damage adds up, and the chance of status effects raises exponentially. And because of this, you get so much XP that you basically just shit on every single boss that is thrown your way. I like this game, I really do, but this game just sometimes pisses me off so bad. And I actually did have a lot of fun in this game after I got the Astoma spell in the last dungeon, which also isn't just a recolor of all the other previous dungeons, and actually had care put into the designs, which made it easily my favorite dungeon in the entire game. But I do really like the leveling system in this game, and how you can kind of get free levels slash free points by just exploring the dungeon, heavily incentivizing you walking around and actually exploring the game. But this game just could have been 10 times better if the encounter rate was just halved. So, overall, if I haven't completely turned you off this game by now, if you do like older games, you should really give this one a try. As much as I've been complaining about it, it's still a good game. Don't get me wrong, it still does have its flaws, but what older game doesn't? This game is a great story, great characters, great art style, and overall, I think I'd give it a 7 out of 10, and thanks for listening to me ramble.